Picture this. Just over 200 years ago, the name United States of America didn't exist. Instead, there were 13 small colonies stretching along the east coast of a vast, untamed continent. They were tired, they were poor, and they were under the rule of the mighty British Empire. The king and parliament, thousands of miles across the ocean, made the rules. They imposed taxes without asking, they sent soldiers to enforce their will, and they treated the colonists not as equals, but as subjects. Imagine living in a world where your voice doesn't matter. Where you're told what to believe, what to buy, and how much of your hard-earned money you have to give away. That was the reality. People grew restless. A quiet anger started to simmer, not from a desire for bloodshed, but from a deep, unshakable yearning for something more. They wanted freedom. The freedom to speak their minds without fear. The freedom to build their own lives. The freedom to chase their own dreams, not the dreams dictated by a distant crown. This wasn't just about money or politics. It was about dignity. Then, in 1775, that simmering anger finally erupted into flames. The first shots were fired at Lexington and Concord. This wasn't a war between two grand armies, not at first. On one side, you had the British Redcoats, one of the most professional and feared fighting forces in the world, disciplined, well-equipped, and backed by a global empire. And on the other? Farmers, blacksmiths, merchants, teachers, ordinary men who left their plows and their workshops to pick up rusty muskets. They weren't soldiers. Many had never fired a gun in anger before. But they had something the empire couldn't crush, a belief in a future they were willing to fight for. They were Americans even before the world knew what to call them. A year later, in the summer of 1776, something monumental happened in Philadelphia. A group of visionary leaders, men like Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin gathered together. They knew the risks. What they were about to do was treason, punishable by death. But they put pen to paper and crafted one of the most powerful documents in human history, the Declaration of Independence. It was so much more than just a piece of paper. It was a promise. A radical, world-changing promise that all men are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was a declaration to the world that freedom is not a gift from a king, but a right from God. A promise that some ideas are worth fighting and even dying for. That promise launched 8 long, brutal years of war. The path to freedom was paved with unimaginable hardship. The Continental Army, led by the steadfast George Washington, faced starvation at Valley Forge, freezing winters with no shoes, and devastating defeats against a superior enemy. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and often on the brink of collapse. Yet, through all the blood, the hunger, and the seemingly impossible odds, they refused to break. They held on, driven by the spirit of '76 and the promise of a new dawn. Their resilience was their greatest weapon. Finally, in 1783, the impossible happened. The fighting stopped. The mighty British Empire, worn down by a war it could never truly win, recognized the independence of the colonies. The world watched in astonishment. For the first time in modern history, a colony had successfully rebelled and won its freedom, creating a new nation. But this nation was different. It wasn't built on the lineage of kings or the might of an emperor. It was built on an idea, a belief. The United States of America was born. It was born not just from the ashes of war, but from the fiery hope, the unbreakable courage, and the powerful unity of its people. And that is the incredible story of how a small group of ordinary people, armed with little more than a dream of liberty, defied an empire and created the most extraordinary country on earth. Their legacy isn't just in monuments and history books. It's in the very idea that anyone from anywhere can strive for a better life. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please like, subscribe, and share it with others.